Hi, my name is Bridget Ryan. I'm a graduate student at the University of San Diego, and this is my curriculum research project for my capstone seminar. First, I began by looking at different topics and seeing which would work best with my specific classroom. I decided to look at improving writing instruction in an elementary classroom. First, I looked at the context of my school. I teach at a private school located in Centennial, Colorado, a suburb of Denver, Colorado. It's one of 40 schools within the Archdiocese of Denver. We have 2 classrooms per grade level in grades preschool through 8th grade. Our percentage of girls to boys is 58% girls to 42% boys. Generally, our classrooms have anywhere from 16 to 25 students per classroom, depending on the year. And most of the time, our students' standardized test scores are ranked in the top 20% of the United States, and we do standardized testing in grades 1st grade through 8th grade. Next, I looked at my specific classroom, and I taught 2nd grade. I had 20 students with 7 boys and 13 girls. Within those 20 students, I had 3 with a diagnosed learning disability. 2 of them were diagnosed with the reading disability dyslexia, and 1 is classified as twice exceptional. He has ADD as well as being gifted, or ADHD, and as well as being gifted and talented. Next, I looked at the rationale behind my project, and my reasoning behind it was that I feel students are leaving 2nd grade without a strong understanding of strategies needed for writing or the ability to use digital tools to assist them in their writing or just digital tools overall. They've been exposed to things but not really able to use them very efficiently. Next, I did our needs assessment, where I looked at 3 different areas as a triangulation, and I started with a qualitative needs assessment. I created a Google form and anonymously surveyed my 20 students to gauge their feelings towards reading and writing. I asked questions that talked about participation in the classroom as well as at home, homework, and then doing things independently or how much help they needed. After I looked at that, I did a qualitative needs assessment where I picked 10 out of those 20 students to see how comfortable they were with writing in general, especially when they had to do it at school and on their own, and then also with being able to use digital tools in the classroom to help assist in that writing. Lastly, through my own teacher observations, I noticed that students are just not very confident in their skills and they're not finding joy when it comes to writing. So this helped me to acknowledge that, writing is such a key part of our educational instruction practices that students really need to have a better grasp of it, and they're going to be doing it for many years to come. So it might be helpful to find ways to help them to enjoy it a little bit more. Next, I established a research question, which was what impact would the application of content and writing through the integration of cooperative learning, strategic writing practices, and digital tools have on student engagement and academic achievement and becoming proficient writers. I also came up with 2 sub-questions. The first one was, will students' enjoyment of writing improve? And if, what effect will integrating these tools such as cooperative learning and digital tools have on their attitudes towards writing? Is it going to be a positive thing, or is it going to be negative? Am I not going to find reasonings to where they're going to actually enjoy it? Next, I did a literature review, and a lot of the research showed how poorly our students are at writing. This is something that most of the researchers found, that struggling writers lack ineffective strategies for accessing the knowledge they've already been taught on how to write. And so we need to implement research-based strategies and other tools for these struggling writers to become better writers. However, one of the problems was that teachers are also not being taught these specific writing instructions, or if they are taught them, they're not taught how to implement them into their own classroom. And so therefore their students are also becoming poor writers because they've been instructed poorly. So within that, I wanted to find what kind of tools could be used to help teachers become better writing instructors, as well as digital tools that could be used to help them. The first tool I found was the use of collaboration. One digital tool that uses this is the program G Suite. It's an online tool through Google. And students can through their school, have a free account, and then the teachers can set up programs such as Google Classroom within their class to help them, just get the students to collaborate with one another. It allows the teachers to use technology in their room. It helps maximize student learning because you're doing more things at one time. And it also helps teachers manage their classroom because it's all in one location. And so teachers aren't having to go back and forth and struggle looking through papers, and it's all right there. And also one study showed that it was easier for teachers to give feedback in a more timely manner through Google Classroom because all their comments are right there. They're not having to go, like I said, back and forth. Through the use of Google Classroom, teachers are able to empower students to become learners. The students also take ownership of their learning, and it also helps by improving a sense of community among your students and learners. By using G Suite and Google Classroom, it gives students the ability to use various apps that can maximize their learning, and it also keeps them engaged because we see all the time that students who are using technology or digital tools, that they really are more engaged in their day-to-day classroom. And lastly, when a student is familiar with a program such as G Suite, they're more inclined to want to work with other classmates versus if they're not very confident in it, they're going to want to work more by themselves. And so this is a great collaboration tool because it helps them increase working together. The next topic I found research to support my idea was cooperative learning, and it provides an alternative to competitive or individualistic classroom activities by encouraging collaboration among students in a small group. One thing with cooperative learning is that teachers really have to start it very strong with a lot of structure and teaching the students how to work in a group and looking at how they group them in general. Students work on writing goals together, and each person is given their own job, and that way, when the teacher goes back to grading, the students get a grade as well as their group gets a grade, and you don't want one child overpowering the others. And so the teachers really have to do the background knowledge, teaching them this before they can start cooperative learning in a classroom. But once they start it, it really does help with things such as peer editing or just using Google Classroom or G Suite because they're doing more cooperative learning together. And through this, teachers can see a higher student achievement. Their motivation improves. You see positive attitudes, and it also works on student social skills once you implement cooperative learning into your classrooms. But overall, it's just another tool or type of teaching that can be integrated to help students work better together. The next tool I found was just basic writing strategies. They are very valuable, and they teach us things like communication, learning, self-expression, but partially students just are not being taught these skills. One researcher said that most of the students in the United States have scored at the basic level or below when it comes to written expression. And a lot of this was found that it's due to the quality of instruction that the students are receiving because their teachers are not being trained in writing strategies, and so then the students are not receiving it as well. So one thing is teachers need to be taught writing strategies such as planning, drafting, revising, editing, conferencing, publishing, and just writing proper paragraphs, topics, sentences with supporting sentences and a conclusion. But, once the teachers or the students have been taught that, then they become better writers, and in turn, the teachers can see motivation and improvement within their students. The next tool I found that was very instruction was through the use of a digital portfolio, the online program Seesaw. And really, a digital portfolio is just a place to house all of students' work. But through this portfolio, it gives the students the opportunity for digital journaling. They learn how to use a device correctly. They have to sign in and out of an account. They can take pictures and do audio recording or video recording. They can use drawing tools, and they can give feedback to classmates through this program. And so it's also just teaching them all these different tools that they can use to help their self-expression and which helps in writing instruction. But it also, you can use it as, the classmates are trying to give each other feedback. And so you can use it as a learning tool to say, this is the correct way to do it. You want to make sure that you say things appropriate and not inappropriate to your classmates. The next tool I found that was beneficial was through integrating blogging into your writing program. Blogs have become very prevalent in our society today. And so it's just another thing that you can integrate in when you're trying to do an effective writing program, especially because a lot of teachers are seeing that they're lacking time during the school day for writing. So if you're introducing a digital tool as well as writing instruction, you're kind of combining two things at once. But it gives a place for students to kind of use self-expression because they can write their own things, a place to publish their work. And it's also a place where their peers can give them feedback, kind of like in Seesaw and in Google Classroom, but also the teacher could give feedback. And luckily, nothing gets published without the teacher's okay. So, nobody's going to see it without their permission. Next, I came up with my project overview, and my objective was to introduce strategies and lessons that can enhance students' written expression, and to provide lessons and digital tools that can be incorporated in today's classroom to assist teachers and students in writing instruction. The tools I focused on were kidblog.org, Google Classroom, Google Documents, and Seesaw. So next, I wrote my curriculum plan where I broke it up into 2 units. I have lessons 1 through 4, which are digital tools, and then lessons 5 through 12, which is the writing process. The first lesson was an introduction to the program KidBlog. And then the second lesson was journaling, which they were going to use in conjunction with KidBlog. Third, they were taught what Google Classroom was and how to log in and kind of the ins and outs of the program. And then the fourth lesson was just creating a Google document. Next, they went through the writing process. Lesson 5 was why did we write? 6, we wrote writing goals, and then they were taught pre-writing, drafting, revising, editing, a writing conference, and then putting it all together. And by the 12th lesson, we were using all these different tools together to kind of put all their writing together so that they could see all the different tools in action and all the different processes of writing and see how they all kind of fit together. I found the significance of this project that through my research, written expression really has become something that is a neglected basic skill in our classrooms today. And this helped me to acknowledge that I myself need to go back and keep learning about skill or different strategies I can use myself to help increase my students' writing processes. It really helped me to infer that any students can become active participants in their own learning, and by using writing strategies along with 21st century tools, we can engross, engage, and excite our students about writing. And lastly, this project also helped me to allow ways in which I can improve my writing instruction lessons by including these strategies and digital tools to better prepare my students. My hope is that by sharing this research, that I can show others some of the great tools that they could also be used to help become agents of change in their own lives, in their students' lives, in their schools, and in their community overall. And my reflection on this process was, one of the main reasons I became a teacher was because I wanted to make an impact on students. And I've always felt that I've had a good grasp of integrating technology. However, I knew that writing just was not my strong suit. And so I wanted to find ways that I could better help my students. So this research was also to help educate myself as well as educate others. And my hope is that with implementation of collaborative learning, a high-quality writing program, and digital tools, that I can find a balance in my own teaching practices that will provide opportunities for my students to be engaged in writing in a way that's meaningful, and it will make an impact on their skills. I also know that through this whole process that, I wasn't given the opportunity to implement it into my classroom, but it's something that in this upcoming school year I would really like to implement and see the changes within my students and see if they're, after a full school year, if I see an impact on their writing due to this. But, within the summer program, I wasn't able to do that because I didn't have a classroom. But I hope that, through all my different research and sharing this with others, that I'll be able to do that. Thank you for listening, and I hope that everyone has enjoyed my research and gained more knowledge about writing instruction and how to incorporate these tools into their own classrooms.